In this video, we're going to look at how you can have a smoother freestyle to not only reduce your drag, but swim a whole lot faster. My name's Brenton and my background is competitive swimming. I was a national swimmer as I was growing up and I've coached for the last 13 years. And we run clinics around Australia and we have hundreds of people do these clinics every single year. And we work with people who are almost beginners up to very high level, national level swimmers and triathletes. And one of the things that we see is if you don't set up the stroke right, in terms of your catch and your pull, it's much harder to then have a good catch and pull. So it's much harder to then correct it. So in this video, we're going to have a look at what you need to do to set up the stroke well to make it smoother and to not only make you faster, but really to have a better catch and pull. So I want to show you one of the things that we look at when we're doing video analysis with swimmers. That first of all is the hand entry. Now, if you look at this side view here, what you'll see with this swimmer, this is Dan Smith, he's an Olympian from 2016. And you'll see where he enters the water is out in front of his head there. Now, sometimes I'll get asked, where should I enter? Well, it should be, if you've got your arm out in front of you, if you can see it there, get your arm out in front of you, about the same distance as your wrist would be. So entering far enough out there that we get the fingertips in first, but not really close to the head, because if you're entering in line with your head here, then it's going to be a lot of drag that gets created because you're going to have to push that hand forwards in the water a long way. Now, the reason that we want to enter still fingers first and have a little bit of time spent reaching forwards is that's where you get rid of your bubbles. So when your hand enters the water, no matter how kind of smoothly you go in, you're going to get a little bit of bubbles, a little bit of air caught on your fingers, on the palm of your hand and your forearm. So we need to enter and then reach forwards in front of the shoulder before we start the catch. That gets rid of the bubbles. So we want to be somewhat smooth with that transition into the water. Now, smooth means a smooth trajectory as well. So that the angle that we're going in at. So you'll notice here that Dan enters there and he's reaching, mostly sort of forwards and slightly down. Sometimes we'll see swimmers enter super early and go down very deep and very steep. And you see, it's like they hit a brick wall. They slow right down because they haven't got a smooth trajectory or smooth angle in there. So if you can get that right, fingers entering about the same distance as your wrist would be out there, if you had your other arm in front, and have a smooth trajectory into the water, that will set you up really well. The other thing we need to have in place there is what we call swimming on train tracks. Now, when we have a look from above, we should see that your hand is entering in line with your shoulder. All right, so that left shoulder, hand enters there, and it extends pretty much straight forward. So if I ever talk about swimming on train tracks, I'm referring to the entry in terms of your entry and reach forwards. So we want to be in line with the shoulder. What's really common is people will often cross over, come across the center there, and that can be quite a big cause of a lot of turbulence and bubbles out the front. So we need to make sure that we're on the train tracks. Now, the thing that we've found from having thousands of swimmers through our clinics over the last couple of years is that people don't know whether they're crossing over or not. They might have been told, but when you feel like you're straight, sometimes you're not straight. So a good way to check it is swim some freestyle, look forwards, you're looking out in front, and just see exactly where you are entering. And if you are crossing that center, just bring it out. And you might be surprised how wide you need to feel in order to get on the train track. So don't be surprised if it feels completely ridiculous about how wide you are. So that's the next thing. So we talked about getting on the train tracks, number one. Get the fingertips in at the right distance out in front of the head, and then have a smooth trajectory out in front. Now, the position that we want to get to is this right here. So you should see the fingers below the wrist below the elbow. And think of it as the fingertips about underarm depth, as you can see there. Now, that's what I refer to as the starting catch position, the start of the catch. That's when you're about to begin the catch motion. Now, to get to that position, well, the reason we need to get to that position is because that's where you're going to be most efficient. If you think of, all right, if your hand goes down to say like this depth straight away, if you were to sort of come in and go really, really deep, you're going to get all this oncoming water hitting the hand and the forearm. It's going to slow you down. The other thing that sometimes happens there is people will enter and their fingertips will drift right up. Again, more surface area, it's going to slow you down. So we need to be in this very sort of streamlined and efficient position there. Again, it's one of those things where often people just don't know where they are with it. So when we're filming someone, we'll then look at the footage and we'll see they're either too deep or too high. And they're like, geez, I had no idea that I went down that deep or came up that much. And so again, there's nothing wrong with looking forwards every now and then just to check it and correct it that way. And we have a number of drills that are really good for learning how to get that and know when you're in that position. If you are a member, the virtual freestyle clinic is a course that we've got inside of our Effortless Swimming membership, which kind of goes exactly through those drills and will take you step by step through them. So they'll be the first and second drills in the virtual freestyle clinic. And I find it quite funny too, because when people go through that course, they might go through the first 2 drills there, and they're pretty simple and basic drills that you may have done before. But I go into a lot of detail about what you need to achieve in those drills. And sometimes they'll say, look, this is really sort of simple stuff. And they feel like it's just too basic. But the thing is, from my experience with having people at clinics is that probably 3 out of 4 people, like 75% of people, aren't getting all of these things in place. And so it's very hard to progress on to the next thing. So if you can get really good at some of these basics and these fundamentals, that's what's going to take you forwards. Some of the really fun stuff to sort of think about and talk about with the catch and the pull, it can be very helpful. But if you don't set yourself up well with good fundamentals, you're going to limit yourself in terms of how far you can progress in your swimming. So even if it's stuff that you've heard before, then often there's ways that you may not be doing things correctly still with some of those real basics, and that's what we look at clinics and when I'm coaching people online. So that's the next thing. Then after that, we would move into the catch. Now I've done quite a few videos on the catch, so I'm going to link to one of those videos below, and that will cover exactly what you want to do in order to achieve a high elbow position. And a high elbow position is not elbow near the surface. So if that's what you think, watch this video. It will explain you exactly what a high elbow catch is. So I'll link to that one below. But if you can get those 3 things right in order to enter correctly, get rid of those bubbles on the hands, you are going to be swimming very nice and have a very sort of smooth freestyle that way. So it was train tracks, get the fingers in first about wrist length length out in front, and then have this smooth trajectory to get down to this position right here. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're looking to improve your freestyle, then check out the virtual freestyle clinic inside of our Effortless Swimming membership, which I will link to, and that will take you step by step through 5 drills that will build up and progressively improve your stroke. And the first couple are pretty simple, they're pretty basic, but with good fundamentals you can go on to become a very good swimmer. And it doesn't matter if you're doing triathlon or open water swimming or it's just swimming for fitness, these are the things that will help you have that great base to then build from. So thanks for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next week with another video.